Hello and welcome to Car Mechanic Simulator 2015. This is the game of simulating a car mechanic, just in case the name didn't quite let you know what's going on. Good. Okay, last time out we fixed up the store-bought auction car to keep, which is now over there in that parking. This is why I'm looking at that. And this time I thought we'd do just a normal job, get one of the customers happy, earn a bit of cash. Our engine power's failed, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that sounds like a decent chunky job. Let's do it. Right then, so, oh, it's a scary but nice colour. I'd much prefer to have a bright and sort of nasty colour like this than a horrific colour like brown or, you know, sienna or steel grey, which just looks really wrong in a car, I think. Right. Oh, we could maybe do some diagnostics. Not done any of that for a while, and it does sometimes help. Let's just remind ourselves what's wrong with the car. Lots of different things. None of which actually are listed. So let's do that. Let's do some testing. So we go into examine mode and then go through F1 to F3. We could also take it on the path test thing as well, which would help us determine the suspension issues. Alright, so we've got cat as the exhaust, and we've got some relatively sort of mid-level engine issues, ignition coils and such. Okay. And then this is the compression test. This basically tests if any air leaks out of parts of the engine, like the pistons and things. You blow up the exhaust pipe, I think. No, everything with all those is fine. And then finally this random number test, which basically makes sure that your engine can still count, and if it can't, it works out which parts don't know how to count. Okay, the fuel pump doesn't know how to count. See, that would have been a pain in the ass to find, wouldn't it? Which of the sections is that in? Engine power has failed. Right, that's interesting. Okay, I don't really feel the need to check the suspension on the path test because it's all relatively obvious, especially on a newer car like this. Like, look, you can see these are both very chocolatey, these suspension caps, as an example. You know, see how shiny this wheel is. I mean, everything else is... I mean, you can spot the chocolate there, see. Well, it looks like we need to take these wheels off to get to some of the suspension stuff. Excuse me, good grief, I'm so burpy. Right, all this brake gubbins have to come off. There we go, and we can get to this. Oh no, we still can't get to the knuckle. Oh, that's quite deep in, this suspension problem. It's like all this other stuff's new, being attached to. How much? That was 97%. Then there's this, which is on like, you know, 5% or something. Seems a bit dodgy. I have to remove the shock absorber too. Oh, and it's got this sway bar thing on it. I always forget these. It's also chocolatey. And then we can take off, oh yeah, the spring first. No, we don't have to actually take the spring. I mean, the shock absorber comes off first. Okay, so we have to lift it up to get the front knuckle off because we need to remove the lower suspension arm as well. Alright, well that's that side kind of revealed, I guess. Let's peer on this side as well. I mean, I might not have to remove these wheels, but it's just easier to see what's going on. Out the wheel in the way. That one needs to come off. There's a rubber bushing that needs to come out. Oh, the sway bar here needs to be removed. I mean, it's chocolatey enough as it is, but the sway bar it's connected to needs to come out as well, so it'd have to be removed. Oh, the spring on this side is dead, so that has to come out. The spring to come off. There we go. Right, so that side's all ready, unless there's anything behind here that needs... Nope, there's no chocolatiness behind the wheel, so that's fine. Oh, there's a fuel filter. Can't take that from here. Alright, so let's go into the engine bay next. Oh, sorry, squiggle the camera around a bit, just to burn your eyes out. Alright, there's the fuel filter. And what else was it on here? I forgot. Oh yeah, ignition coils and the like, wasn't it? Mid-level, I was saying. So it's this sort of shit. And the spark plugs. Does these spark plugs look alright? Yeah, they're all green, so I'll leave those. Why can't I remove it? Oh, because I'm in bloody examine mode. And now I'm in assemble mode. Going well. So is one of these? Yeah, a couple of these dodgy. Okay. Take them all out there for now, because there might be spark plugs underneath them that are dead. I'm sure there were some spark plugs that were a problem. Well, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. It's a bit annoying. Oh, but it'll tell me on the list, won't it, of course. On the list that we... Ignition coils, fuel rail, oh, okay. It's these things. That looks okay. So is that all of those parts I've taken off? Fuel filter, yes. Pump. No. Yeah, I'll be taking the rest off though. So let's just going to take the fuel pump out before I forget, because that'd be really irritating. Alright, good. And so I think that was all for the engine, really. So we need to put it up in the air. That's one of the things we need to do. To get at the suspension stuff. Also to check the rear suspension. We can do that whilst it's in the air as well. So, alright, let's be having it. Mr. Knuckle. There we go. Front steering knuckle off. Sway bar. Oh, yeah, okay, got it. So we need to take off the exhaust here. The steering rack. A little bit more of the exhaust. Nothing else obviously chocolatey in the engine area. So, middle muff, exhaust pipe. Take me down the end there, Captain. No, it won't. I have to go and click. Right, let's have a look at its rear suspension section. No need at all to take that wheel off, was there? So we've got a sway bar. We've got a sway bar thingy to remove to get at that. Yeah. And then we've got this suspension spring that looks a bit dead. Let's take that out. This side is a bit, yeah. Actually, maybe requires the wheel to come off. I don't know. It's just a mess of chocolate. It's hard to tell what's what. Right, let's that go off. We need the sway bar rear end link off for a start. So we want to get the sway bar out. And that one's chocolatey, so that's good. Right, where is the sway bar? There it is. Right, we've got this axle that needs to come out. So that's the reason the wheel needs to come off. And that we need to take out. Looks like we need to take everything off to get at it. Oh, and there's some bits. There's the knuckle as well. So I have to take the brakes off. Alright, let's just strip this side. It's easy to try to work out what's required. Ooh, the wheel head bearing, that needs replacing. We'll take out the bushing to get this arm off. I find that slightly frustrating, but whatever. So I'll take this, we'll take everything off. Wow. Why does the car need to be connected so well? Surely there's no real stress on this part of the vehicle, is there? No forces acting upon this part. Why can't I remove it? Oh, you... There we go. Wow. Right, so I think that might be all the chocolate. Oh, it's not all the chocolate. There's a bit more chocolate there. In the form of bush. Chocolatey bush. There we go. Oh, and it's the small rubber bushing that's screwed in for a change just to catch him out. Right, let's double check the rubber bushing on this knuckle. Yeah, look, there it is. Oh, you little sod. At least you only need to get to that, you only have to take this one arm off. Okay, now that might be all the chocolate. Let's go back down the front end, see if there's any parts we want to take off while it's in the air. No, we've done that already. Okay. So, there's a couple of bits on the running gear we haven't discovered yet. And there's the gearbox we haven't got into. I'd forgotten about the gearbox, to be honest. Right. Let's take off the drive shafton. I wonder what this running gear bits are. Maybe it's bushings that I've not spotted. It's usually in this cross-section member thing. That's where they hide. No. And of course it might be wheel hub bearings or something. No, that looks okay. And if I haven't removed everything from the wheel, you need to pop around the back and double check there's no obvious chocolate sitting there. That was unseeable from the other side. Oops, yeah. So it's just those two parts, only two parts of the clutch that were knackered, so it's the release bearing and the pressure plate. Okay, so that's that done. In fact, whilst we're here, to be honest, that's just gearbox, pressure plate. Oh, damn it. go, gearbox dealt with. But we are still looking for some running gear issues, so let's pop this back on. Drive shafty. And then back to looking for issues. Now, I suppose it could be things as well that I've not really thought about, like these rear shock absorbers, because they're black. It's sometimes hard to tell how chocolatey they are. So what's the cut-off in this car? 92%. So this looks well fine. So it's nice and shiny. 97, yeah. I've taken the one off on this side. Ah, but there's a rubber bushing. Look, that's knackered. Once I'm in removal mode, I'll be able to take it out. What about on this side? Double check these bushings. Yeah, they're a bit hard to see. There we go. So that should be all of that. Yeah, okay. So let's start purchasing things. So we need a fuel filter, a fuel pump, and 2 fuel rail DIs. So fuel filter, fuel pump, a few fuel rail DIs. And 5 ignition coils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Front shock absorber cap times 2. Front spring, front steering knuckle A. Front sway bar, outer tie rod. Front sway bar, outer tie rod. Rear axle knuckle housing A. Rear axle knuckle housing A. Rear drive axle, rear shock absorber cap. Rear drive axle, rear shock absorber cap. Rear spring, rear suspension arm. Rear spring, rear suspension arm. Rear sway bar B, 4 rubber bushings. Rear sway bar B, bushings. Small rubber bushing, spring cap, steering rack. Small rubber bushing, spring cap, steering rack. Sway bar, front end link A, and a sway bar rear end link. So sway bar A, one of them. And a wheel hub bearing. Alright. Yeah. Inner tie rod, outer tie rod, steering rack. I bought some of that already. Alright, I'm going to leave that and see what else I need of that. So 2 cats, 2 exhaust pipes. 2 cats, 2 exhaust pipes. A front exhaust pipe V8 and a middle muff. Front exhaust pipe V8 and a middle muff. And done the gearbox. Alright. Let's put it all together and see what we got. And hopefully what we've got is a car that works that the person will pay us for retrieving. That's the hope. Alright, small rubber bushing. A suspension arm. Sway bar and a spring cap and all sorts of lovely things. The rear sway bar doodad. Oops, I thought there was going to be 2 bolts for that. There is not. Quick exhaust pipe, and then all this crap needs to be put back together. So there's a bit of that, there's a bit of this, a little bit of that, 40 bolts. Oh yeah. There's the bushing to put in here as well. Before I forget, don't forget your bush. All kids love bush. Sway bar doodad, and there we go. And then the rear springs and stuff. Cap, spring, cap. Oh yeah, there's shock absorber of course. And the brakes. There we go, and then a wheel. That's really good. That joke doesn't get old, does it? It does. Oh, okay. Sports. Right. There we go. Whoop. So that is probably the rear end done, apart from the bits I've forgotten. Front wheel hub. Oh yes. Put putting the bits back together. Doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo. Right, steering rack and tie rods. Yes. Shock absorbers. Shock absorber cap. And the sway bar. Oh no, I need the sway bar itself. And then the links. There we go. Nice. So what else have we not got here? Oh yeah, hubcap thingamajig. And the brakes. Whoop. Okay, that's ready for a wheel. And before we do that, let's just double check all the stuff we can see. Oh yes, there we go. I need a bushing required somewhere here. There we go. Inner tie rod. Oops. No, that's the one we need to take off. It's never quite clear whether we've bought the right amount of stuff or not when it appears in two different parts of the... not the bill, what do you call it? So when you look at this, it says here, inner... Oh, actually I didn't buy an inner tie rod there, did I? An outer tie rod. An inner tie rod to purchase there. Okay. Catalytic converter. What else do we need on the front? It's not letting me put the... oh yeah, the shock absorbers. I'm in assemble mode. What have I not put on that allows me to put the shock absorber on? Is it the cat? Oh, it's the spring, of course. Confusing me, I have to put the spring on first. Mumble mutter. So then I can put the sway bar, or indeed buy a new one. Dear God. Sway bar front end link A on hopes. Yes. Let's put a nice one on. Alright, and now I can put a wheel on. Yes. Yes. Alright, and then a wheel on the other side. Whoop, here I am. Whee! Okay, so what else needs doing? Engine power. Oh yeah, I need to refix the engine, and I haven't quite got all the exhaust on yet, apparently. Oh yeah, there's a bit missing, look. Oh, there we go. So that's the exhaust done. Right, is there anything I have to do to the engine underneath? Not obviously, so let's bring it down and fix the remaining parts. So we've got these fuel rails. And then we've got whatever they were, ignition coils. Fuel filter. And then ignition coils. Lovely jubbly. Now that might be it. Almost, apart from the bit that I said I'd forget when I did it at the start. It's like, oh, I'll probably forget that. It's been accessible for under the car, get lost. Put the fuel pump in. Shush. Right, there we go. Job not quite done. Missing part rear suspension arm. Awesome. So, where's this rear suspension arm? Rear suspension arm. Rear suspension arm B. Okay, let's see if we can find one of those. Rear suspension arm B. Is it that? No. Rear suspension arm B. Ah, there it is. Ugh. Alright, there we go. I would never have noticed that, I must admit, if I'd been the customer. I'd have driven it away going, oh, was that an exciting new clanking noise I've received? Is that a feature? Awesome, alright, well, there we go. Got a super quick job? No super quick job, so that's going to have to be a lot, I'm afraid. So there we go, we fixed a Mayen M8. Or mate, and yeah, good. So glad you enjoyed that. You did enjoy it. Oh no, you did. You don't think you did, but you did. And on that note,